So hello and welcome to our employer session on diversity, equality and inclusion in the recruitment process. Today I'm joined by William Butler, Transport for London Senior Analyst and Lead for their apprenticeship programme with a focus on DE&I. Now, diversity and inclusion has been a hot topic within the workplace for some time, but organisations are under unbelievable pressure right now to deliver an agenda that accelerates people, culture, and strategic change successfully. Today, we'll be having an open and honest conversation with Will around TFI's journey on this important topic. And Will will be providing insights and sharing best practice, not only for employers, but also for students entering the employment market. So hi, Will, welcome.
Hi, Nicole. Thank you very much. So just a brief introduction from me. So as Nicole says, I work at Transport for London. I'm a senior finance business partner looking after London Overground and some of our sponsored services, which I'll go into later. Yes, I'm sure TfL is a recognisable brand for you all, but for those who aren't aware of Transport for London, we're the integrated transport authority which provides transport in London. So most of you may know of that as the Underground or the Tube, but actually we've got up to 13 easily identifiable modes of transport, which stretches from buses through to the Emirates airline cable car, all the way through to Dial-A-Ride, which is our assisted transport service.
Thank you, Will. So let's kick this off. In terms of TfL's mission, vision and statement, can you share with us what underpins this important topic?
Sure. Well, you know, the Mayor's Transport Strategy, which is the vision that Transport for London as a whole works towards, is to create a future for London that's not only home to more people, but that it's a better place for everyone to live in. And I mean, what more brings that to the fore than public transport? It allows you to access education, it allows you to access employment, essential services, it allows you to keep in touch with your friends, your family, to go to work and to help people to live independently. So one of Transport for London's key objectives is to make transport in London accessible, safer and reliable. But of course, that is for our customers, but what does it mean for our employees? And so what does it mean for people who work at Transport for London? So as part of our corporate social responsibility, you can see on our website that we publish how we are working towards the equality and inclusion agenda. And it's something we've been working on for many, many years, if not since inception of Transport for London. And so we're very keen that our workforce feels included, and not only do they feel included, but that they also feel engaged. We're keen to represent the city that we are there to support, and so we want our workforce to be truly representative. So that's things that are quite a high level, and so I recognise that may not resonate with all of the apprentices or graduates who are watching this. You may not live in London, and so you think, well, why would I want to work in an organisation that doesn't necessarily represent me? Well, the fact is that London is one of the most diverse cities in the world, if not the most diverse city in the world. And so to be able to work for an organisation that supports such a city, you can almost be guaranteed that you are represented. So what does that mean now at an even more granular level for our apprentices? Well, we want you to come into TfL not to be pigeonholed into a particular role at the level which represents your knowledge, skills and experience. We want you to come into TfL and we want to develop you through a rounded series of placements to really fulfil your potential and to go on to not just spend a couple of years at TfL or to see you through your apprenticeship scheme, but to really sow the seed for you to have a career at TfL and to spend your future there.
That's brilliant, Will. So how has this helped you attract the right talent to meet your D&I agenda?
Sure. I mean, our D&I agenda is, as I've already said, a key focus of TfL's priorities. And for us to achieve that diversity and inclusion on our apprenticeship schemes, we find that early engagement is really key. So our graduate and apprentice recruitment team work very closely with a number of schools, boroughs, organisations to really show that we are committed to increasing numbers of people working in transport, working in engineering, and STEM subjects, where they may not traditionally be seen as a common background to come into those type of roles. We collaborate with London Transport Museum, Routes into Work, and the Strategic Task Force for Apprenticeships in Transport, of which our former commissioner was chairperson, and construction skills in industry bodies to really ensure that we're finding the people who are right for our apprenticeships. And the people who are right for our apprenticeships, as I said before, are not necessarily the people that you would routinely expect. And we try and make sure that our recruitment processes are really transparent. So we found, common research shows that you may have issues of gender splits where you have masculine wording in your job descriptions, words such as leadership or resilience can be off-putting to some women, which may sound like a surprise, and it's a surprise to me as well, but that is what research shows. So we really try and remove that masculine wording from our job descriptions and interview processes. We're really keen to be transparent from the outset as to what our roles actually mean and what you're going to be doing in them, to not make it sound like it's something that's unachievable for those who don't have all of the skills, because obviously on apprenticeships we are looking to push those skills and to develop them. We're also clear that we are not recruiting people to simply come to us for the scheme. As I've already said, we are really looking for talent who will be progressing through TfL, and we expect them to move through TfL and spend a long time with us and to really establish their careers with Transport for London. And that can be seen by how we're structured. So our leadership structure is structured as such that our early years education and our earlier schemes teams are also in the same area as our talent acquisition teams and our performance and development teams. So you can see that we want to see that end-to-end process.
That's brilliant, Will. And I wanted to just mention and get your thoughts on this. TfL has held the CIMA Premier Partner Employer Accreditation for a number of years. That really encourages organisations to adopt best practice and embed a positive culture around nurturing and developing a talent. Do you feel that has contributed to how successful TfL has been on this journey?
Yeah, I mean, CIMA has such a rich vein of research and insight into these topics, and also provides a platform for things like this, where I can come on and say, how TfL considers diversity and inclusion in our recruitment processes and what's important to us. So to me, this is a partnership which absolutely works both ways. I feel like having the CIMA brand associated Transport for London's apprenticeships and having Transport for London and our diversity agenda associated with CIMA, I think it's certainly something that works well for both of us.
So let me ask you, how does TfL measure what success looks like?
Yes, this is a tricky one, it's not concerning, but it's clear from looking at the statistics and looking at the research that we have we have a great diversity of people across gender, across ethnicity, across disabilities when they are coming into the schemes. But if you look through the hierarchies of Transport for London, and if you look at the more senior levels, you can see that the populations fall away to be not so diverse. And so that's something that we're very, very aware of, and we do monitor this not just once a year or once a quarter. We look at this periodically. And I'm just going to look away from the screen to see some of the items that we have on our diversity and inclusion dashboards, which we look at periodically. So we look across how we're hiring people. So who is applying? Who are we shortlisting? Who are we then offering to? What is the inclusion like once people are at TfL? How are we engaging with people from different backgrounds of either ethnicity or of gender or of disability? What is the performance like for those people? What are the promotion prospects like for those people in terms of where have they moved from one grade to another, and what are the leavers like? So, you know, who do we see leaving? It's clear as well that above our senior manager grade, you don't see as many women as represent the communities that we serve, and against the manager grade, you don't see many people from ethnic groups being represented beyond that manager level. So, you know, there are definitely items that we are now looking at and wanting to actively push.
Thanks, Will. That was great. And just as a caveat to that, bringing it back to competencies, CIMA has a competency framework that provides our employers with guidance on what good looks like from a skills, knowledge and behaviours perspective, which is very similar to the apprenticeship framework that also helps with that holistic approach around capturing what success looks like. So leading on the diversity inclusion piece as part of the apprenticeship programme for the last 2.5 years, can you share any potential areas of improvement you have identified?
Yeah, sure. So I can certainly say that inclusion has improved, particularly in the last few months, to be honest. So following the horrendous murder of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, we have taken steps in Transport for London to really consider what questions that is bringing up and what it's asking. You know, not just in Transport for London, but across every aspect of our lives. And at the start of each meeting, we will have inclusion moments. Previously, we've had safety moments. Safety is obviously a key thing for a transport organisation, which has strayed into well-being and mental resilience and health. But now we have inclusion moments at the beginning of every meeting. We've also set up listening circles to try and help those who have not suffered from discrimination or don't perceive that they've suffered from discrimination to come and hear what it's like for those that have. And so, you know, we're really pushing that engagement agenda. So we've certainly seen improvements there. Then looking at social mobility, there's always improvements that we can make there. The COVID response is concerning. I'm seeing how that is affecting employment. So roughly, and I'm going to look away from my screen again just to look at some statistics. Across London, there's unemployment of just under 5% at the moment, the latest statistics that I've seen. And within that, the 16 to 24 age group, who a lot of our apprenticeships are directed towards, that's as high as 14%, and it's projected to go up to 27% as at the peak, which is very concerning and something that I hope that our apprenticeships will help towards with us taking on apprentices over the coming years. So really taking it down to the apprenticeships again. So I feel that we've made definite improvements recently over our assessment processes. We have tried to look at removing the barriers through the assessment centres, which have maybe prioritised people who are from more affluent backgrounds or have had more work experience or support from home to allow them to perform better in those assessments. Those assessments, actually, we want to see who has the potential. So not who has the ready-made experience, but who has the potential to perform and to excel. We've also identified in the assessment centres where people with certain disabilities may struggle and where there may be barriers, and tried to remove those barriers to make sure that they're considered and not removed from the process because of difficulty in getting through one particular element of it.
And on to my last question, Will. What hints and tips would you share with employers looking to recruit a diverse workforce and students looking for employment with employers who have this as a key initiative?
Yeah, good question, Nicole. So, I mean, the most important thing in our view is to make things as transparent and appear as accessible as possible. So clearly we're a transport operator, but if you look at our apprenticeship websites and our graduate sites, you will not see loads and loads of pictures of tunnels, mathematical formulae, and trains. You know, we're keen to make sure that we're attracting talent that doesn't just have an interest in trains and tunnels, but someone who has the skill sets that we want to work with. So we focus much more on that. We're very keen on market research, so we're very keen on talking to people from the communities that we serve to make it clear to us what those people are good at and what works for them and what they want to see from an apprenticeship. Also, in terms of how do we show progression, so do show that your scheme is not simply a 2-year or 3-year or 4-year scheme that is it. Show what examples there are of how you can progress through that through a career at the organisation, and also make sure that you're providing support. So clearly we're not interviewing these people to catch them out, even though that's how interviews sometimes appear. We're there to really try and get the best from these people. Recognise that particularly if they're going into the level 4 apprenticeship, that they may not have acres of experience and knowledge and skills, but so your application process and your interview process, assessment process, should show how they could develop those skills and how they can evidence their capabilities to learn. One way of doing that is through having scenarios in your assessment centres, which don't simply ask you to be told what the knowledge, skills, and experience are, but to actually say how they would go about things in a hypothetical situation. So, what recommendations would I have to the apprentices themselves? So, you just need to be honest, be open, be yourself. Don't try to fit what you think is the mould of an apprentice, because it's important that you're genuine in your applications, and recognise that the employers that you're applying to will want to see the best from you. As I've said when giving hints and tips to the employers are not trying to catch you out. They're just trying to find out what you know and how you will operate to ensure that they can get the best from you when you're on the scheme. And just don't be nervous. I mean, that is a very difficult thing to actually do, whereas it's quite easy to say. Certainly at the assessment centres here at Transport for London, I try and relax the apprentices who are being interviewed on that day. I'll have a chat with them. I'll ask them how their journey's been, making sure that we can try and get them as relaxed as possible before the interviews start. So have confidence in yourself, have faith in yourself, and just give it your best and apply. That's the key advice.
Brilliant. Thanks, Will. And really just to build upon that, as you mentioned, through this session, you know, apprenticeships were envisioned as an engine for social mobility, to really provide students with the option of meeting their career aspirations, or having a choice in terms of meeting their career aspirations without necessarily having to go to university and get into debt, and to focus on supporting and uplifting individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds. So for us, as a professional qualification, offering a level 4 and level 7 within the finance apprenticeship arena is really powerful, and kind of reiterates and reinforces our passion and commitment in this important topic. What I'd like to do is obviously thank you for joining me today and having this really informative conversation. I'm sure those that will be listening to it at a later date will find it really useful. What I would encourage you to do is to follow the links at the bottom of the page. That will provide you with more information on some of the resources that I've mentioned. And as a recap, we touched on the CIMA employer accreditation, CIMA apprenticeships, as I said, at level 4 and level 7. Job opportunities, which is a big must, through our global career hub, and much more. Let me take this time to say have a great day, and thank you for myself and Will. Will?
Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, it was a great session. I really enjoyed speaking to you, Nicole, and I look forward to seeing some applications from you guys in the future for our level 4 and level 7 graduate programs.
Brilliant, thank you.